I understand. I don't think I've ever seen an assault on the parking enforcers from anyone. Another instance where more space was asked, when Peter Thomas came out, he gave, when you see the videos of his, when he first meets each Robin Hooder on video, he instructs or sort of suggests to the parking enforcer that they read a statement or make a statement. So it was clear that this was a prepared statement, and the one time in which, when I first met Mr. Thomas, it was when I was out parking, when I was out Robin Hooding and Jane was out, and he prompted her to deliver a message. And she said that I would like you to please not be within, or to please keep a distance of 15 feet. And I said, well, 15 feet, that seems like a considerable distance or something like that. And then she also said, oh, and also don't talk to me. So I tried to respect that as best I could. I questioned in my mind the validity of the request. But I believe it was within 20 or 30 minutes, I was again having a conversation with Jane, and we were within 15 feet, and there was no issue of space invasion or anyone making any other points. So aside from those instances of being told that I may have been within space, I've always respected the space of the parking enforcement, and for that reason, none of them, other than those 3 instances I pointed out, have they asked for space.
How many times, how many defendants have you been with when you have been around the parking enforcement officers?
Well, I've seen all of the people that are here as defendants today have been out Robin Hooding. I can't say for sure that each of them has been Robin Hooding while each particular enforcer is out per se, but
do you use a radio or some type of walkie-talkie to communicate with your other defendants?
Yeah, my radio is dual purpose. I have my MP3 player plugged into an FM transmitter. So while I'm not getting calls from people if anything's going on, I'll also be playing music.
And you tell the other defendants to come back or come down because Jane is at a certain street or that Lynn is at a certain street?
Well, relaying a message, I wouldn't really say I'm telling anyone to do anything, because it isn't like if I put out the notice that there's a parking enforcer at a particular place that anyone's necessarily going to hear it or show up. So telling people to come down, no, but putting out over the radio, hey, Garrett is down here Robin Hooding at Roxbury Street, if somebody wants to come down. So yeah, I'd say it's not telling anyone to do anything.
And do you follow around the parking enforcement officers up to 25 hours a week or so?
No, I'd say it's more like 10 to 12 hours a week.
Well, let me again point your attention to the news article. And I'll show you where. Where I've checked out. Why don't you just read that into the record, please?
Ian, who makes a living landscaping and cooking in addition to the 24 hours or so per week he volunteers with Robin Hood of Keene, said he plans to defend himself against the city's claims using video evidence.
Thank you. Your Honor, I'm going to ask that be marked as a full exhibit.
Now, I would say that at the time that that interview was given, can I speak to?
Not yet.
Okay. That's nice.
I'm sorry, Darrell.
That's exhibit 9.
Thank you. Mr. Ian, you were here in August.
Wait, he didn't have a chance to answer the question. You asked him a question, the question was pending. He didn't have a chance
Right,
to
yeah, I would like to address the,
I don't remember any
The
pending
question
questions.
was about the 24 hours. You asked him about the 24 hours. He
Oh.
was halfway through answering the question.
You spend 25 hours or so a week.
that statement was accurate at the time that it was delivered,
This
but
was
I'd say,
May of 2013.
I was under the impression that when you asked me the question just now, you're speaking to presently, and I'd say for the past few weeks, it's been more like 10 to 12 hours.
And is it Monday through Friday?
Or Saturday.
I'm sorry, Monday through Saturday?
Yes.
And you have personally followed Alan, haven't you?
While he was working, yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that you could do all of the activities that you want to do 30 feet back from these folks to keep in peace?
I could attempt to do the activities I'm doing, but they would be considerably limited. people, I mow lawns, I shovel snow.
Attorney Meyer, again, it's about 20 minutes of 4, we'll go to about 4 o'clock if there's a logical, I'd like to start, but I'll defer to you. If there's a point as we reach nearly 4 that you'd like to stop, you can do it.
Yeah, I think that in addition to the honor, I think there was some miscommunication between Attorney Bauer and myself, and I thought that Mr. Eden wasn't going to testify until tomorrow. So there's a video that I was asking him to bring, that he doesn't have a chance today.
Not a problem.
So, but I'll certainly start to redirect.
Absolutely.
Garrett, you were asking questions about your proposal about shutting down parking enforcement. So I think in specific what you said is shut down the enforcement arm. Now, what did you mean by that?
What I meant was through the act of Robin Hooding, and by Robin Hooding I mean filling meters, not harassing parking enforcers as the city tries to characterize it. By the act of going out and filling meters, one is physically able to prevent there from being enforcement for this violation. You're able to bring everyone into compliance with this law pretty much. So by bringing everyone into compliance with their meter, you're making it so that there is no enforcement that needs to happen. There's nothing to collect upon. There's nobody doing anything wrong, pretty much. So that's what I mean by shutting down the enforcement. No enforcement needs to happen when the meters are off.
And what is your reason for wanting to do that?
I guess what motivates me to be in the streets more often, I'd say it's the experiences that I have when I'm out there. The few times I've done this activism prior to this, prior to it becoming very consistent, I found it was very rewarding. People like it. It garners attention, both positive and negative, as I found out. But it's something that I feel raises a lot of consciousness about people's ability to protect each other from this enforcement mechanism of government. Like, I don't think the parking enforcers are bad people because they're out writing tickets, but I don't think tickets need to be written. So to me, I find it rewarding to prevent that from having to happen, and I'm motivated to continue doing that by the positive response I've gotten from it.
Do you believe that parking should be simply a private enforcement rather than government function?
I'm sorry.
Do you believe that parking should be a private enforcement rather than a government function?
To be honest, I don't really believe in government functions fundamentally, so I kind of say yes, but I'm not really of the opinion that like my activism is motivated towards turning parking over to the market or anything like that.
You describe it as being like a privatized government across the board, or is that not a fair description?
Privatized can mean different things. I like the idea of voluntary interaction. I think the way government fundamentally functions is through coercive means. The funding mechanism through taxation is people not choosing to contribute. If people thought that the services were valuable, I'd like for them to voluntarily be able to put their money into those services rather than just being forced because there's a monopoly that's just been in place for so many years that we were all born into. And I don't think it's something that people chose necessarily. It's something that an older generation did and we've just kind of been mixed into. So yeah, I'd say I have certain views about government that motivate my activism.
Is there a label that would describe your philosophy? Your political philosophy?
There's several. I'd say some are controversial, and because of that, have like all sorts of different meanings and mean different things to different people. I find it very difficult to find a label that can really sum up one's views. I'd say that I believe in self-ownership. If there was a word that was like self-ownership-ism, that's what I believe in. Some people would say anarchism is similar to that, and I think there's all different sorts of people who associate themselves with different labels. So I'd be careful to not want to associate with people I don't agree with, but I believe in people own themselves fundamentally and should be the total masters of their own existence to the extent that they're not infringing upon others' abilities to do the same.
You were asked by Attorney Bauer to move from philosophical to more mundane about the practicality of videotaping 30 feet. And you responded, I think that, well, essentially your response was, I think, that it could physically be done, but it would be less effective. I'm accurate with summarizing what you were saying.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess the question also assumes certain goals about the videography, the action of video taking videotape.
From your perspective, what are the goals of videotaping you're doing?
There's several folds. One is creating an objective record of what goes on. That's something that only the technology can do. No human being can create an objective record with just their eyes and their ears. Another thing is, it's part of the activism is creating the record for other people to see and for it to be shared. I'm someone who believes that works and media should be Creative Commons, that people should share the things that they produce rather than trying to control them. So that's a reason that when I go out and videotape things, whether it's parking enforcement activism or whether it's just walking around downtown Keene, I like the idea of creating a record for people to see, and that being an art project, a Creative Commons project, like an archive of video. Having to be limited at certain feet, also presumably having to be aware of where a parking enforcer is so as not to inadvertently enter 30 feet would definitely create many concerns. I've been doing video for so many years, I've gotten used to being able to multitask, run a video camera, hold it at my side, or have it be wearing it, and be doing multiple things. But as it was mentioned earlier, you can't converse with someone from 30 feet away. You can't have any sort of normal verbal interaction with them. And it seems like a 30-foot boundary would actually create an antistic environment if you were trying to communicate with someone, because it's inherently kind of antagonizing to try to communicate with someone from 30 feet away.
Would the quality of the videotape be compromised if you're 30 feet away?
Yes. As you can hear in the video that has been played already, people are just several feet from the video camera and the audio still isn't all that great. I mean, microphones nowadays are much better than they were just a few years ago, but still, I mean, downtown Keene is loud. If you're a considerable distance from someone, even just like maybe 20 feet, you probably can't hear them if they're speaking a normal conversation with someone.
If you're videotaping from 30 feet away, is there a greater risk that you're going to include in the videotape private citizens who may be unrelated to this?
Yes, because you're putting more space between yourself and the subject, it means that there's a lot more ground to be filled with other things.
Now, in terms of communication, verbal communication, what has been the nature of your verbal communication with the parking enforcement officers?
From the start of Robin Hooding, I actually didn't speak much at all to the parking enforcers. The first few times I went out, it was kind of a silent activity where me and my friends would talk amongst each other, be a little ways ahead of them, and be filling the meters. I actually began having conversations with them after a day that was referenced where there was people visiting, and they were saying it was grouping, the word surrounding was used. That particular day, this person visiting town named Chris Cantwell his purpose was to go out and interact with the parking enforcers. And he made videos of himself doing that. And over the course of, I guess, the video he was making, I was in the area, and it was mentioned that myself and other people had been out before. And one of the parking enforcers said one of the parking enforcers pointed out, I guess, myself and James, and said that like we had nothing intelligent to contribute, or that we had nothing intelligent to say. Without myself interacting with the enforcers, that was this other person speaking with the enforcers about the people that she knew. So from that point on, that actually motivated me to be more talkative to the enforcers, and I asked the parking enforcer who said that why she believed that, and through talking with her, she eventually took it back and said that she no longer held the position that I had nothing intelligent to say or contribute.
Which officer is this?
That was Jane.
And what's been the nature of your communication with her?
It's always been friendly, I'd say, since it started. I don't think there's any event I can point to and say that was a negative interaction or something, or antagonistic or anything like that.
What's been the subject matter of your communication?
It varies on the day. The majority of the day, if I'm out, I'm not communicating with the parking enforcers, but every few minutes you may just be walking alongside them and talking. The nature of the conversations varies. Since the lawsuits happened, I haven't talked to them specifically about the lawsuits, because I figured that there probably were limitations on the city's wanting of them to do that, so I try and be conversational about other things. We'll talk about current events. We've had several conversations about religion and philosophy and free will, and ideas, like different ideas that we have, and yeah, I'd say very like normal conversations that people would have socially.
Your Honor, it's now, I guess, 3:50, it's probably the time, so that's great.
step down from Standard Stream. We'll resume tomorrow at 10 a.m. Because I have some matters, some criminal pre-trials I need to deal with at 8:30. And if I could just see council at the bench, we can be off the record.